that changed. Oh my. Michael. Oh, you see, and we're live, and I'm just like ringing the phone, trying to get a hold of Michael Ankers out of London, England. Oh, missed that call, but you know what we'll do is we'll vamp for a minute. Those of you that don't know the
Yep.
term vamp, that means what we will do is kill time.
Yep. Kill all the time.
No, you know what? Actually,
Kill some of the.
some of the time.
Yeah.
Some of the time.
Kill some of the time. Just a
Well, I
piece
mean,
of
you
it.
could. Well, are we set up? Are you is the
Yeah,
tablet
the
plugged in?
tablet's. Gotta turn it back on. Like turn.
Well, what do you?
Hit the button.
I mean, you could give us Michael's song. Um, you know what? I was gonna let Michael kind of tell more of this story, but I mean, the reality is he loves music. Um, he's proud of the fact, Michael has autism, neural diversity. I believe I'm somewhere on that spectrum, probably myself. Um, that I had spent a lot of time interested in the way in which brains relate to evolution and the idea that we often label everything a fault that doesn't fit into a specific mold. And I think a lot of times those are features. I think that just because somebody sees the world differently doesn't mean they see it wrong. It may mean that they see pieces I can't see, so that God, what's her name? I'm going to talk about the cow lady.
Temple Grandin.
Temple Grandin, thank you, who's worked a great deal in neurodiversity because she is also a woman that has autism and has had an amazing career in the more careful, the better treatment of farm animals to slaughter. That it's funny, she gets into a fight with everybody because she's willing to eat animals, but she believes they should be taken care of well. That Temple Grandin's discussion is about the idea that we tend to define a line of on this side of the line it means this, on this side of the line it means that, as opposed to we all see the world differently, and no two people see the world the same. Um, and when I first ran across Michael's music, what Michael was working on, the fact that he's working on podcasts, etc., that he's a very, I'd almost say an activist in the sense of, making a point of, I shouldn't say that. No, he's Michael, being Michael. And that's all that, you know?
I got the. Oh,
You know what?
here we go.
Ta-da.
Ta-da.
Here he is now. Mr. Ankers himself. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Not bad. Not, you know what? Not bad. It's a little early in the morning here. You're our, but it's early in the day too, because you're our 5 a.m. on our way to midnight. Let me think. I've got how many people? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think we have 10 or 11 more interviews to do today. I'm
Total?
not. Well, in a 3-hour music show.
Yeah. There's that.
So we'll be doing a 3-hour music show. Yeah, we're crazy. You're right, Michael. I totally appreciate it. So, you know what? Tell us a little bit about where you're from, brother.
So hi everyone listening. So, I'm Michael and I'm from, well, probably guess, like most people do straight away, England. So I'm from a
Can I ask a
town
question,
called,
Michael, real quick? Are you on a speakerphone, maybe?
well, I'm on a phone, yeah.
But are you using
Are you on speaker?
are you on speaker or do you have like headphones?
No, I'm not on the. Well, I'm not on the like loudspeaker.
Okay. I'm just having a little bit of sound problem, so I'm just trying to see if I can do anything to get the sound a little bit better. So just go ahead. And what was the town you're from?
So I'm from a town called Chadderton, which is heard of Manchester before, which is part of the city of Manchester in England. That's
That's
where
right. I remember we discussed a little Manchester you last time we had you
Yeah,
on the phone,
we
didn't we?
did. We
yeah.
did.
So you're from that little part just a little bit off Manchester. What was it
Yeah.
like growing up there?
Um, it's well, obviously I still live there now, but I've grown up because I was born in a part of Manchester, but I've always lived here, and um, I think like this town is a very lovely, nice town. Um, I had a lovely time in primary school, secondary school, and it's a very, what, in general, it's a lovely area, everyone's nice, I know a lot of people here, so there'll always be someone I bump into and say hello to. Um, and, obviously we've got a lot of members here, so, they're up here, and, I've, done a lot of things, so, like, obviously, obviously gone to school here, I've met so many different people here, whether they live in the town or visiting or whatever. Um, and you know what? It's been like, say, like, obviously, like, it feels weird to say I'm 18 now, but, you know, growing up in Chadderton or, well, still in Manchester, but you know what I mean, but, like, growing up in where I live, I've really enjoyed it because, it's like, because obviously, like, and obviously you get to meet, like, a lot of different people from like different parts of England, different parts of the UK, different parts of the world. You never know who you're going to meet, and it's just lovely to know. uh, well,
I think I know one of my greatest joys is the fact that yeah, I especially now diversity wise, especially how many people I can talk to from how many places from like sitting here even. Even if I don't make it out to the city center, it's you know what there's at my fingertips. I mean, I started off the night talking to a young man in Kenya. And then we actually talked to a friend of mine in Australia and my brother in California. And obviously now here we are in England. That I think we're all we're very similar yet all different, which is what I think is really cool about people. I think that's what makes us the most interesting. Um, that you know what I've always been interested in your music because you know what you're telling your story. Our big thing that we're trying to do here is hear people's stories. That whether it be my producer Ross,
Hey,
who is a musician and is working, does hip hop and stuff. That if you look on the studio page, you'll see a bunch of his music as well as some stuff we've done with some other people we work with. And for me, as a guy that isn't as much of a musician as you guys, it's that for me, I can see your stories because you're already sharing them with me, if that makes sense.
yeah,
What, so when you think about so does that mean, so you turned 18 last week?
yeah.
Um, so are you getting ready? Are you taking your forms? You're in, will you be graduating, I guess? I get confused because of the American system versus the UK system.
I know it's different. It is like obviously there's obviously like you've got there's lots of things to think about. I think when you turn 18, like and like time has gone, especially these past few years with COVID and everything, it's gone by even quicker. And so, yeah, well, I'm going to be finished. Well, I'm doing an extra year at college in September, but I basically, well, in a few weeks, I'll have finished my level three performing arts course, which was a 2 year course, and I
Okay.
cannot believe I've nearly finished that. So in June, I'll have finished that.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Thank you. Because I know college is different. What we call college, because I suppose your colleges are like university, but college for us is basically how would I explain it? So we have like I suppose what we have like sort of like nursery or preschool, you have like kindergarten, and
Mm.
then we have primary school, which is from the age of about 4 to 11, and then we have secondary, or well, a lot of people call it high school, which is 11 to 16, and then you have college, which is generally 16 to 18, but you have a lot of like people older than that, so you don't have to go to 16 to 18 to go to college.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then university, which I suppose is your kind of college.
I've heard
But
people
yeah,
saying
so
uni.
Oh,
I'm nearly finished my 2 years course, and then I'm doing an extra year of performing arts next year, which is like a level four course, which is still at the same college, which is basically just the high qualification. You still work with the same people, etc.
no.
And then possibly after that, I'll be doing uni. But yeah, and there's things like that to think about, but also just being able to. I know the like this like in terms of, like obviously I suppose you're not really considered an adult if you're listening until you're 21, but obviously in the UK it's 18. Being able to like leave go and drink and like it's like that's weird and it's like oh I feel like that and it there was a lot to think about obviously so it seems quite a nice I mean I don't necessarily because people keep asking me obviously it feels to be 18 I'm like I'm just a bit older I'm officially an adult now which is a bit
Right.
you know
As
bit weird but
I'll be
you know what
51 this year, so I've had to come to just kind of accept the idea that yeah, I'm just getting older. Yep, it's just another year.
I know it's just like it's like when I on Friday I had like a little meal related to friends and I saw this friend I've not seen for a while and I got off with her and his like siblings as well. And I said, "Oh, how's your little brother?" I was like, "How old's your little brother?" And he was like, "Oh, he's this, he's like." And then like even when I hear about like or like when I see my little cousins or like I know like one of my friends and siblings or whatever, like that are a lot younger than me, and they're getting older or and I see them like, oh God, you're tall. I mean, like I feel older than because a lot of us like, oh my God, all my little cousins are growing up as well. I'm like, I feel even more world. I'm only 18, but there you go. I mean, I'm still young. But I don't know. It makes it like I'm an only child, so I don't have any like brothers or sisters. So, but I love my little cousins and all my like friends, siblings are so old, but I was like when I see them like getting over the top, and people always say to me even still now, "You're grown so tall," and all this, and I say to like my little cousins or whatever, I'm like, "Oh God, like look at them getting out." I'm like, "God, is that how old they are?" It's like, oh God, I feel even more old because of that.
You know what? It really is such a thing too. That it's trust me, perspective will get you. That you know what? So Ross is 19. You're 18. I'm 51. Between us, we're almost at 100. No.
We're almost there.
that
Oh no, oh no.
Hopefully you're shy.
so that makes us all 30 something, right? I'm going down this
I
road.
think we can
No,
split the
I'm not
difference.
there. I'm not there for another 10 years, and you were there 21 years ago. And so, I thought,
so
oh,
so I'll tell you what. What how do you play? I mean, actually I hear you. You like to go out to the club with the buddies, don't you?
yeah, I like to. I don't know. It's like because when I was a lot younger, I like. I mean, I like I like my own company. I like to have a bit of peace and quiet by myself, maybe go for a walk or whatever. But yeah, I've been trying to. Like, I'm not much of a. I don't know what you say, club person. the weirdest thing about a lot of the my friends in performing arts, obviously we're all like similar ages, and it's like some of them prefer going to a pub rather than a pub, which is, to be honest, that's probably the same for me. And I don't know why, because basically there's this pub near, like, well, where my college is, there's obviously a lot of shops. You know, it's right near like a town centre,
Okay.
and um, there's this pub that we all like going to, like whether we're celebrating a show we've done or we're celebrating someone's birthday or whatever. And it like that's why I did it there on Friday, and it's like, and it's weird. I would never. I mean, I would never say no to going to a pub if someone was wanting to go, but I feel like I'm more of a, I like to, like the thing like with me, like when I do art, I mean, like to like whatever, because I suppose it's not always about what you're doing; it's about who you're spending time with. So,
Yeah.
your mate, partner, or whatever, and then, um, so well, maybe more of a pub, but I also, it's just whatever we do. 'Cause, like a lot of us like to go see booths, we go for a walk, so that's together, or go shopping, or go for a meal, anything like that. I love to do.
Well, then
It's just
in the
nice,
end, it's not whether or
like
not you're at the pub and how many loggers. It's you know what, yeah, like you were saying, it's very much it's not so much the what as it's with good friends and very much so. But the pub life can call though to some.
well, it hasn't done me, doesn't it? But yeah, but yeah,
So you know what? How do you feel about so the next question is how do you pray? And for me, I meditate a lot, as opposed to it's a tradition. It doesn't necessarily fit everybody's answer to how do you pray. But any answers, like how do you feel like you find your center and does that make sense?
yeah, I get what you mean. And well, to kind of bring it to this sort of for a second. Well, I'm a Catholic, so I mean, I'm not like a very strict Catholic. I mean, I don't go to church every single week. We can say just before the COVID pandemic hit a few years ago, I went to a Catholic secondary school, I mean, primary school and secondary school, so obviously I was brought up with it, and my dad was Catholic, so I loved Christian. So obviously, we're not a very strict religious, but like, so at the time a few years ago, I was going to a few different churches. So I was going to my main one that was connected to my own school, and
Okay.
I was in a choir there as well. But I was also at a choir at another one, but it was connected. And I also used to visit, well, I still visit it now actually, a Baptist church.
Oh, okay.
And obviously, you learn differences with them, but it's all, similar.
Yeah. Well, and testing the waters.
So so I was obviously the normal way of playing, but obviously I'm still the blah blah blah. But I think with me finding my sanity is just I don't know. I'd say like when I still go to church every so often. I don't know as much as I used to, but you know what? People don't say, "Oh my God, you should go to church." It's supposed to do
Yeah.
what I do, but I like to when I like that if there's a special occasion or
Mm.
something or an
Christmas mass.
anniversary. I like to
Huh.
every so often go to church and like have a nice see some people that I know, obviously there's always people that I know there usually.
Well, a
And
sense of
then
community. That's I
yeah,
think one
so
of the
and,
hugest parts of a
like
church.
just being around, obviously being around them and obviously, just going to church for a bit of, you know, peace, fight, so to speak. And then I think just in general, finding my centre, I find like obviously it's not for me so much the frame, but I think I always say surround yourself with positivity because that's how I feel like I'm at my centre or whatever you want to call
Okay.
it. Like
Yeah.
surround yourself with positive people or family, friends, whoever, like surround yourself with positive people, and that's how I would say I sort of I don't know. Find centre.
No, I think that makes total sense. That you know what, I grew up and it was very much we moved around a lot, but that my mom was very attached to church as sense of community, and it wasn't that she would pick a church based on, I guess, flavor. I mean, it was always some version of Christian. That was our background. But that her biggest point was that when you moved to a new city, that was where you made new friends. That it was a good group of people to have a sense of community with. And so that was how that like I can understand the idea of wanting to like I'd go to churches with other friends, and then I actually even ended up you know, I was baptized, but in general now I'm kind of more Buddhist than anything else, but I don't really have a religion. I kind of just am I have of the belief that everybody kind of is trying to describe the same thing, but then they fight over the words. Like I think we all sort of agree that we should be good to each other, and I could get behind that idea if everybody could do it.
So,
you know, um what what do you love? And what do you feel, what has that meaning to you? What do you love, brother?
uh, well, I love my, you know, I feel like in terms of between like, and obviously like the past few years have definitely taught me, you know what, I love my family. Well, I've always loved my family,
Right.
but I love my family, I love my friends, so I like family to me. Like, because like I'm an only child, so I have no siblings, but I mean, I don't regret having no siblings because you know what, get more. Well, not that, but people say to me, "Oh, you're lucky because you don't have an annoying little brother and sister." But I like my friends are like my brothers and sisters. Like a lot of some of them,
Yeah.
especially like the ones I'm closest to. So I love my friends, like family, but also I love my actual family. And then I feel like, especially now, I love my life a lot more because I'm very um grateful because I've had a lot of good. I feel like this year, especially, has brought me a lot of nice things, like and like family or friends or people I know. I love my obviously music, as you know, because I love
Hmm.
doing songs and song covers and
Yeah.
what like you were saying before, telling my story, and like I love like just I don't know, like you were saying before, like obviously about the 16 tenders and in California, etc. Like I love getting to know, like, I feel like, especially since, well, one good thing about the pandemic is that I was able to meet, like, so many people from all over the place, like Canada, Australia, actually, but USA, obviously, Latvia, all these different places, and Canada, etc.
It seems like
And
the pandemic opened up those doors for a lot of us, that when before we were kind of all concentrating on the people we saw, that all of a sudden it was
yeah,
like, oh, and we'd be in these, groups with these amazing people that we shared stuff in common with, and they were everywhere in the world.
yeah, but you just didn't know it. But yeah, I think, yeah, because like, when I in 2020, that's why I like sort of like in the first month or so of the first lockdown in the UK, I joined Instagram,
Hmm.
and then obviously I built up a platform on there. But like I came speaking of what I was saying about Canada, but I came across this Canadian YouTuber called well, he's like Italian, but he's also Canadian. But he's called Angelo Torres, he's Italian, but like he's like a podcast. Well, he started doing like a lot of interviews. And through him, I met so many people from Canada as well. Through that, obviously meet people through people.
Hmm.
Um, and I am very good connected with a lot of people in Canada. Because I've been a guest on a few people's podcasts in Canada. Um, I've worked with Michael on a YouTube series that I did last year.
You've been busy.
I've always,
You've been
you
really
know, I've
busy.
worked. Yeah, I'm always bit. So I like to do like what? It's always busy. I've been moaning all the time. Like people say to me, "Oh, you should do too much." But like I like to keep myself busy. That's how like obviously some people like to keep busy to to focus on something else and something else. But I like to, not obviously not like busy to a point where I'm like a slow, but busy enough where I feel like I've got this to do, that, which will keep me nice and life flowing. And also, I think, so I love all the people that I've met, online, whether it's someone that, like, with music or that's
Y-
interviews it or I think them
It's
or whatever.
that you
And
know
I
what
think, yeah,
you
you
come
know
ac-
what, in
go
general,
go
I
ahead,
just,
go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, sorry. But just in general at the moment, I just love my life at the moment. So,
That's beautiful. That no, there's that that's meaningful. That realizing that it's good to be here, and in the place you are is really powerful. But as much as you sound fearless, what are you afraid of?
oh, that's a good question.
They get
I
harder
think,
from here.
yeah, yeah, I think, I don't know, I think, well, something that I used to be afraid of, but maybe not as much now. But um, I think I used to have this idea of, like with friendships, because obviously, I take like my friendships so important to me. But I used to be scared of um thinking. Because this is how my brain works, is also as well. Because it's kind of how my brain works. But I used to be like scared of like, oh, if I've not heard from someone for a while, or something like, oh my god, they're ignoring me, but in general, we're just busy all the, everyone's got their own life. But I used to like, that's not my mindset. Used to be, oh my god, oh no, why are they ignoring me all this,
Get in
But
you'd get in
even
your head.
I think that's something I used to like. But apart from that, I think like something, I don't know, which is like, well, something I said for a while. I used to be like, I sometimes I'm a bit now, but like I'm a very health conscious person.
Mm,
So like, 'cause obviously I have autism and verbal intelligence. Well, that's not really health. It's more like learning differences and whatever. But it kind of affect your health in some ways. But I always used to have this be like, oh, I don't want to like have some little ones with me, or like something else or whatever. But obviously, life happens, and everyone ends up maybe having to go to a hospital, or or even if it's just a code or whatever it is. But
well,
I always used to have this thing of, what, like, even if I got like, even if it was a doctor and it was nothing like serious or whatever, but I'd be terrified, and sometimes I feel like it's
mm,
just like how my brain works.
yeah, no,
But then,
I think though that's I know that I deal with that. That I know that so my theory is everybody, and it doesn't have anything to do with neural diversity. You know what? I've never gotten tested. I've often thought I'm somewhere on a spectrum of something. Hard to say what spectrum, but somewhere on one of them. And that the reality is that neural diversity is what lets us. It's the key. It's how we see more things. That I think
okay,
of. It's our superpowers. It's I that you see the world in a different way, which is an advantage. But the thing that's hard to understand is I think all of us are afraid that the thing that holds us all back a lot is that fear of like judgment, that like we're all, oh, what if they think something, oh, I better act this way. That we spend a lot of time talking here about the idea of taking masks off so that people can see us as who we are, so that then they maybe feel better about who they are, if you will. Um, that the real that I think that way you feel is pretty normal. Is pretty. I know it's something that I feel too. That constant. That's the one fear I still fight with. Is okay. But what if they don't like me?
I feel
Or
it
what if they're ignoring? Why are they ignoring me? What did I do wrong? Those are thoughts I have as well.
yeah.
So so 18 years in, a wise old man now. What do you think you know?
Well, I'll say a wise young man, but but and I mean, I'm not the wise old man. I think it's you, but I'm joking. But No, I think I think I've learned a lot of especially with the COVID project, but over life itself, I think what I've learned, as I said before, surround yourself with positive people, family, friends,
Yeah.
you know, in general. Um,
I think those are some of the most important
because
lessons, though. Yeah.
yeah, and and just because I I've learned from I mean I feel because some people say some trends are there for a reason and a season, so to speak, so they'll be and you learn stuff from them. But I feel like I've learned obviously family, friends is important, health is definitely important, and focusing a lot on, especially for this year, something I've learned is really focus on your, I'd say, mental health because
Yeah.
with my autism, obviously, which is mental health is obviously it's neurological, but try not I try to try and learn to relax more. Because I think some people someone's like a workaholic. They do a lot. They keep they do they're always working. They never have time for themselves, or they're always keeping busy seeing people, which is good. But I think there's also a point where you need to relax and just de-stress and that's something I've learned. Just if you work a lot or you
I,
whatever, or and then I think, so yeah, surround yourself with people, try and relax more, because otherwise, it can, because it could you could end up being really stressed or,
well,
a lot more
learning
fear.
how to deal with
And then,
stress. I think that's something
uh,
we've all had to come to terms with.
yeah, I think the way I deal with stress is I try to, because obviously there's ways of coping with things, because obviously, you know, everyone gets stressed for a reason.
Right.
To say if it's a person that's causing you stress, maybe talk to them about it. Say if it was oh, this person said something that upset you or did something. If you can talk about it with them and sort things out, that's great, wonderful. But if not, don't feel like you have to keep someone in like your friend or partner or whoever it is, don't feel like you have to keep living like, oh, even if you've known them for such a long time, it's oh, but I don't want to lose that. But you know what? If they're gonna make you all if there's that toxicity there, then get rid of it. And then I think just in general, stuff, I go do things go for a walk. Sometimes I find having a shower helps calm me down, which is a bit weird,
Yeah.
but it does. Um, I think it's the water helps refreshes you. You feel a bit more ready for the day or whatever. And then I think obviously I a lot of music and you'll producer there as well. Making a piece of music or writing a song or releasing it. I always feel when I go to the recording studio, I always feel so happy ooh, I'm recording a new song or whatever I'm doing there.
Right.
Yes, for the and then I think so listening to music as well. I love Nick. There'll never be a day where you won't see music with the earphones or headphones and whatever. Listen to music whether at home or on my way to college or something. But there is not a day in my life where I do not listen to music. So if there was a bit of that one with it. And then I think just go for a nice walk, like I was saying before. I always find serve a dog as well, so take it to a walk anyway. But or just go for a nice walk outside in a park, by a river, around whatever.
Well, it sounds like
Um,
you've really worked on it as far as trying to find in the midst of stress, and I know I deal with anxiety, and I I meditate. And yeah, for instance, I was at the park yesterday. Now I guess I haven't slept since then, but I was at a park yesterday. um, and there's something about finding those moments to pause that I think is very powerful. What do you wish you knew? If so, those are the things we know. What do you want to know?
um, oh, that's a good question. Let me just think about that for a bit. Well, I suppose, I, but right, this is well, this is more like, I don't know how would you, like, so basically, something that I would, have like, like, because obviously, like I say, obviously, I've been, like, do a lot of things, but I feel like I wish I knew if, like, if certain friendships, if I could done something better, or if there was a reason why certain friendships ended sometimes. But I think, in general, things I would like to learn, like, or I wish I knew, like, um, how to have, I'm not, people know I'm a very confident person, but sometimes I'm very, like shy and I don't believe in myself as much as I probably should do. So that's something I probably like wish. Like I think like I feel like I know how to do that, but I feel like I wish I knew how to like sort of put pen to paper. Like this is how I'm gonna believe myself more.
I can
And
understand that.
then I think another thing like there's a lot of like I wish I knew this, I wish I knew that, but I think one thing that like I don't, maybe not like a life lesson as such, but basically a few years ago, one of my friends moved to Wales, obviously not the UK, but obviously this is part
Okay,
of
I
the
know
UK.
Wales.
And and it's like, oh, I just, like I have slightly spoken to him over the past few, but I've not really heard of like properly spoke with. And it's like he's coming back to England in June. So that's like, but I wouldn't know if, like, I would, like, that, like, I know that's a bit more personal, but, I wish I knew, oh, could we be friends again? Could we not? Because it's always like,
Right.
because, if like, you might have not seen someone for so many years or visit, and it's like,
Yeah.
but,
If you ran into
I wish
each
I
other,
knew
would you
after
pick
that.
it right back up or would it be gone?
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like, because it's like, because obviously sometimes, like someone like, a friend of mine recently, they heard of someone that, like, they've known for like probably like more than 10 years, and like not really talked for a while. And they said they didn't want to be linked with that person. Well, that person didn't want to be friends with them. But then that person changed their mind and then wanted to be friends with them. And I was like, you know what? That reminds me of my friend in Wales because like I've spoken to his, one of his parents or whatever last year, and I got blocked by one of his parents on Facebook with this. And then, I like messaged I messaged my friend who's currently in Wales,
Yeah.
um, on Instagram, and I thought I probably won't hear anything for a while, but literally the next day I woke up, the next morning I woke up, I was like, ah. But he was like, no, I don't want to with you or whatever. But then you don't know if that person might like wants to come back. Then like if he sees, I mean, I don't know just because he's coming back to England in June. I mean, I don't know that knows are necessarily like bump into or see him whatever because I might not. But because obviously you might live near someone for years or whatever, but still not see him because obviously schedules and business. But so things like that. But yeah, okay.
It is a weird world because you know what? I it took a lot of time. There's a lot of pain of people coming in and out of your life, and then it's some people drift in and out, and a few people stay. That most people end up being acquaintances. It's interesting as I get older that you know what there are people that have been important for long periods of time, but then there are also people that I thought would be here that aren't, if that makes sense. Um, so why are you here on the planet?
There's nothing.
Here
Oh,
today
got a bit.
talking, or whichever of the many things you'd like to touch.
I think, well, I'm here on Earth, like, hello, I'm right. But, I think, like, me as a, people nowadays, they do different things, the YouTube or the singer songwriter, blah, blah, blah. I do all the, I used to interview people. I think, I'm like here, like, in general, not like why, well, yeah, probably, but like, why am I, like, here in terms of, like, why I like to be on people's podcasts or I like to be on YouTube or I like to do something is I like I love to be creative.
Hmm.
Like I don't know if anyone believes in Gemini's anniversary, people and all this.
It's the only way to
And
be.
I feel like
I'm a Gemini
that's
too,
really
actually,
good.
Michael. My birthday's on the 12th
That sounds
of
like a
June,
very
of
good
June. But yeah, so
sounds like
you're on this
yeah,
end and I'm
so
on the other.
yeah, I'm the main Gemini, you're the other. But yeah, I um yeah, I feel like I like to be creative. That's why I love doing YouTube. Like, I like filming covers or filming vlogs, like a day in my life or something that, or say if it was my birthday or someone going to an event or something, I film that like other people does the observe recently as well. And then like the reason I do music is like, I have a really big passion for it, like I've had for many years. And like
Mhm.
I love to sing, I love to perform, I love to work with people, I love to like sometimes like, tell a story. And then I think just in general, like why I like to be on people's podcasts, like yours,
Well,
your
thank you.
show and like people like YouTube
Well,
interviews
that
or whatever.
you're
If you
very
call it
outgoing.
interview. It's
You
like I just like I like to be here. I like to be present. Like, hello, I am Michael because I have autism. I'm from England. Like, like I love to talk about. Well, not just talk about me, like not just about suicide, but like talk about autism or like talk about the music or like talk about very important subjects like
yeah. Well, that
I
there's
don't
so
know.
much it's like all of us. You know what? I constantly trying to remind people that none of us are a single note, that we're all a symphony. And so that there's all of these amazing pieces that make each of us up. These interests, this love of for you music, you know, for of people of I think that's what makes us human. That there's a community that we've lost that we need to find again, if that makes sense. You,
Yeah.
and I'm hoping that we're gonna find time to talk a bunch more, and I hope we're gonna get to work on some music eventually. Today's crazy, but that's because I'm crazy. Um, you know what? So let's plan on. You know what? I really want to talk again soon. That I find the more of these I do, everybody's answers run along a similar line. It doesn't matter which private school we went to, which, church we were brought up in. What matters is that we have an empathy for each other, that we can feel and see each other as real people dealing with life. Um,
Yeah.
and I think that's a powerful thing for us to share around the world. That in you feeling more seen and I feeling more seen, we share that then it share, and as it expands, maybe it changes things.
Yeah. Uh,
Thank you so much, Michael. And you know what? I can't tell you how much I appreciate the time. Thank you. It means
well,
the
thank
world
you
to me.
very much for having me.
Thank you, brother. We'll talk again soon.
All right. Bye. Thank
Bye
you.
bye. Well, you know what? Michael just amazes me. He's so energetic and enthusiastic. Very, you know, and man, a mile a minute. A mile a minute and through a strong, very British accent.
Very.
But it's a joy. He's such a joyful guy. We're so fortunate with all the people we've talked to. Thank you so much, guys. We will be back in just a moment. We've got our next interview with Jeff Bullock in Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland rocks at 7 a.m. But we'll take a quick break. We'll be back, and God only knows what we're going to talk about. But the reality is, if there's an hour in this midnight to midnight, you better believe we're on it somewhere. No one's ever going to hear any of that because I really did that a while ago. I don't know. It's good.